All right, so in this video, I'm going to break down exactly why your cold emails are not working. Okay, so just a bit of background on myself. I've been running our outbound agency, Valente, for the last 2 years now, almost, and I've documented the whole process. Okay, we have been on the front side of the learning curve. We have been studying everything that's working right now. We have sent millions of emails. We've booked hundreds of appointments across all of our clients. We have businesses we work with, agencies, SaaS companies, consultants, everything you could think of. And yeah, in this video, I'm literally just going to break down the main reasons why your cold emails are not working. And we've tested this personally across all of our client accounts. When something goes to shit, when something is not working to how we want it to work and perform, this is the exact framework we come back to. Okay. All right. So the first thing is deliverability. Okay. And this is the first thing we actually look into. If your reply rates are under 1%, then you most likely have a deliverability issue. If your reply rate's around 1% to 1.5%, it is in the decent range. If your reply rate is above 1.5% or 1.5%, deliverability is clean. Okay. That is what we use. Those are our benchmarks. And this is also what a lot of other people are doing as well. So a cool little trick I learned from someone else in the space is basically even and odds. Okay. So what even and odds are is basically how you structure your actual email accounts. Okay. So what that means is, let's say you have 100 inboxes. Okay. And each of those inbox are, or three of those inboxes are obviously attached to one domain. So you have 100 email accounts. What we do is we like to split those up into two different segments. So there's an even segment, which we run for the first 2 weeks of a month. And then after we run those, then we switch to the evens, or vice versa, odds and evens, right? And basically what this does, it gives our other email accounts some room to just kind of warm up. And doing this, we also avoid a lot of jump scares with deliverability. You know, it's a great proactive way to kind of make it defensible of having, your reply rates just shoot down. And, then you have to take 3 weeks off to buy new email accounts and spend more money on email accounts, which is no bueno. So we've been segmenting our two email accounts, or we've been segmenting our email accounts into two different segments, even and odds. So the first thing you want to do, if it is a deliverability issue, you want to audit your infrastructure. You want to verify your list, and you want to check domain health. Okay. So what does that mean? How do you audit your infrastructure? You might ask. You basically go and see what email inboxes are bouncing a lot. Okay. And there's tools that let you analyze this on a bigger glance. But what we do is we typically go through our email accounts. We check what emails are bouncing a lot, what email accounts are actually bouncing. And then we run placement tests. This should be within your sequencers. So instantly they have inbox placement tests. We use Email Bison, and that's where we run our inbox tests on. But that is not always the best way to see if your deliverability is a problem. Okay, it's not a good measurement. So another thing we have been seeing a lot lately is problems with fingerprinting. Okay, and you might ask, what is a fingerprint? Okay, so a fingerprint is basically an email provider. Okay, they see the same structure of your email being sent thousands of different times a week. Okay, so when they see that, they're like, oh, this looks odd. This looks unhuman-like. So then they start to flag our inboxes, and our domains get hurt. And then those affect the rest of the domains, or those affect the rest of the email accounts on that exact inbox. And it just creates a plethora of issues. So, yeah, that's never good to have, number one. So what we've been doing is basically every time we have one winning variation, okay? So let's say we launch for a client, we launch 5 different variations. You always want to be testing a bunch off the get-go, but let's say you just have 5 in a campaign, okay? Eventually, after you find the winning variations of that bunch and you start to scale that variation, if you just keep the structure the exact same, that's actually how you get in a risky territory with being fingerprinted, okay? So you basically want to change your copy structure. So a structure is not just like, change a few words. It's completely changing the structure of your copy, So like how that actually looks like is, let's say you have a winning copy. You bring that copy to Claude, okay? and just ask it to create 5 structurally different variations, okay? Keep the offer identical, change the sentence structure, change the count, change the phrasing, the opening hook, apply your spin tax. Then you can build more variations of subject lines on that. Obviously make those 4 words max, no spam words. And the way you continue to avoid being fingerprinted and hurting your email accounts is by rotating your variations every 5,000 cents. Okay, and by rotating, I mean changing out the structure every 5,000 cents. That's actually how you avoid being fingerprinted. Okay, and another thing is if one mailbox on a domain is hitting spam, you just have to assume all of those inboxes on that domain are hitting spam as well. Okay, because domain reputation is shared across mailboxes. If it lands in spam, it probably will kill all the mailboxes on that specific domain. Okay, and this is such a big topic in GTM and go-to-market outbound. And this relates back to copy fatigue. Copy that gets sent thousands of times. It basically lets the providers know, okay, this is again spammy. Okay, and that's how they fingerprint it. And then when you send those emails, it just burns your email accounts. Okay, and once one copy variation gets contaminated, it will end up burning your email accounts. Your warm-ups can't save that. So that's just some sauce on like how you actually structure your email copy. So like always keep on changing the structures of your copy. You don't want to keep running the same one over and over again, because that's how you get mangled by these providers. Okay, so. One sec. And then after you can verify your list, run it back through Clay, make sure these email accounts are actually valid to send to, which is, we've faced this issue multiple times. We just have to rerun the list and check domain health. How's it landing? Okay, cool. But if it's between this range right here, that's a great sign. You can just move on, okay? The next question you want to ask is who is actually replying, okay? So after sending, let's say, 1,000 to 5,000 emails, you're going to have a lot of data to work with. So you want to go back to your inbox and actually see the replies you're getting. Okay, what is the intent? Are you getting people saying, I'm not the right person, or not the right department, or it's not the right name? Like if your data is bad, the replies will reflect that. Okay, it's like inputs in, inputs out. If you have bad data, your outputs are going to be bad as well. So to fix that, you want better data sources. You don't want to just be relying on one data source. In our own agency, we use 3 to 4 different data sources. We use Apollo. We're now testing AIArc. We've tested Blitz API. We've tested a lot of different sources, okay? And we have different platforms for certain clients that target, let's say, home service businesses, where their data is more so specialized for local businesses. So it's cleaner. Cool. And then you want to just, put it back in Clay. How can this be cleaner? And another way is, okay, is this just not like, is the timing just super off on this? Okay, like what are people saying? One approach we use when we just want some replies coming in, which everyone wants, is trigger events. So, for example, another client of ours, they do design services for tech companies. And what we did is we used Apollo for this data source, and we basically used a signal to where someone in the last 6 months just joined a new job position. Okay, and then the opening line literally looks like, hey, I noticed you just moved into the sales role at company name about 4 months ago. And then we just bring up an angle that's just super, super relevant. This is what I'm talking about. So that campaign, this is how the copy looked. So, hey, first name slide moved into the new role at this company about 4 months ago. Usually around this stage, leaders walk into a mix of old decks, scattered messaging, and content that were built for how buyers bought 2-3 years ago, which can really drag out deals. We help growth teams offer and CTA. So yeah, it's just like relevance line, super simple. Don't overcomplicate it, but it's just the opener line to build personalization, let them know we're a real person. A sales argument. So like, okay, why is this relevant? And this gets them to actually read the offer and make the offer hit harder. And then that earns this part, the offer, and cool. Basically, we help growth teams stick together, consistent visual comm system that helps buying groups understand the value much quicker. And then the CTA. Mind if I send over some examples? And the CTA is honestly one of the highest lever things you can pull, because outbound is supposed to be just conversations. You're supposed to build as many conversations, high intent conversations as possible. So when you give someone a free deliverable, a free asset, some like examples, it's just a very easy way for them to say, yeah, sure, send it. And it gets your foot in the door. They can see your work. You build reciprocity. You build likability. You know, there's six key principles to human psychology to get someone to like you. And a lot of them is rooted in our copy, you know? And then some trust. We've done similar work for teams like Oasis Security, Alpha Omega, and Earnix, which are very big companies in their spaces. So yeah, this one crushed. And that's just a quick example of how we use trigger events within our copy. So cool. After you lock that down, the next one is, what are they saying? Okay. So what this means is like, okay, how are they replying to my emails right now? Am I getting a lot of fuck offs? Am I getting a lot of no's or stops? You know, am I getting people saying just not interested a lot of times? And that is an offer issue. You know, you're getting replies, you're landing in the inbox, but they're just not resonating with your offer. So that means you got to go back to the drawing boards. And this is one of the parts that suck most about outbound is the continuous testing process. You know, you always have to be testing different angles. You always need to have copy variations that you can test against your winner, so you can find the next winner after the main one dies out. You know, you have to be very strategic with these things. And around this is like another topic about this is like a simple framework. I would say is, who is the ICP and what is the offer that we're trying to do? Simple question. What is ICP and what is my offer? Something a lot of people get twisted is they're like, oh, I need all the personalization in the world. I need this, I need that. And they go crazy with AI and Clay, but you don't really need that if your offer is good enough. You don't need any personalization if you have a banging offer. And a way to make your offers hit hard are these principles right here. So your offer should include all of these things. It should include new money. What is the dream outcome? What is the perceived likelihood? Is there a risk reversal in place? Is there a low friction CTA? Are we being specific? Are we talking about the outcome and not the product? Are we making it sound easy, done for you? And how is the timing? All of these things, they stack up, and what makes a banging winning offer. So, that's just some sauce there. Some other things to worry about is like, okay, am I testing enough? Okay, am I rewrapping the offer differently than I did, let's say, on my last campaign where it performed bad? Because you can have the exact same offer, but if you wrap it differently, you can get a variation that gets one lead for every 1,000 email sends, and you can get that down to, let's say, 500 just by rewrapping the offer differently, making it sound sexier, And that's another skill that you have to learn is taking dull, dense offers that are boring and making them just 10 times sexier. And that obviously comes with experience. And, when you get a feel of what works and what doesn't, you can kind of get a feel for what is going to rip and what is actually going to work. Okay. So another thing here, there's just a lot of sauce here. Another thing here is, okay, after you find a winner, you want to be strategic with your sends and your capacity. So for example, if you have a winner, we like to, I got this from another guy in the space, but he basically says 70% of your sending volume should be going towards a winner. 20% should be going to different variations of that winner, and then 10% goes to completely different crazy ideas that you've never tested before. Okay? Because you always need, again, winning offers, winning angles that you can test later on before your main one dies, because eventually that main one, the main offer that you're using or variation is going to end up dying out. So you always need to have more in the chamber to test and to just throw out when that one stops working. Another one is authenticity cuts through fancy copy every single time. So what do we mean by that? It means you want to study exactly how your clients actually talk. So for example, go to their LinkedIn posts and see their how they type, their demeanor, their energy, and you want to reciprocate that in the email copy. Okay, that's a specific skill itself, but make sure that the variants actually match their voice, okay? Which a lot of you guys don't do great. Okay? Great. All right, let's move on to the next one. And then question 4, are interested replies converting to meetings? This is one we're actively dealing with. So the biggest problem with this is, what are you actually sending to the prospect when they answer positively to your email? Okay. So for example, we have a client, again, I'm going to reference the same one, the one that does creative for tech companies. Every time we offer examples of our work, we get a lot of replies, positive, asking for more work. But then when we send the work and when we have a CTA saying like, hey, I can show you how we would do this for your company. Do you want to schedule a quick time in for tomorrow or other day? Then we get ghosted, okay? And this is such a big problem. Obviously, speed to lead can fix this sometimes if you respond within 5 minutes. And something I see a lot of other guys do, we haven't tested this yet, is actually call that same prospect that got your email but ended up ghosting you. A quick cold call. Not really cold, it's a warm call. Okay? And also you want to build more touch points with them on different platforms. So let's say, for example, we get someone that replies, they ghost, we end up connecting with them on LinkedIn. And then we shoot them a LinkedIn message. And there's actually a study, Harvard study. I brought this up multiple times, but it's a seven touch point Harvard study. So on average, it takes 7 touch points with someone that doesn't even know you to convert them into a paying customer. 7 touch points. They need to see your message 7 times. They need to see your face 7 times before, they even engage with you and be like, okay, let's hop on a call. I'm interested to work with you. And we've seen that after following up with someone until they freaking say yes or no. You got to be brutal with your follow-ups. You got to follow up until you get a yes or a no. It's that simple. And obviously on different platforms, email can get money, so you go on LinkedIn. If LinkedIn gets money, you call them, et cetera, et cetera. It's like an ecosystem. Okay. And if all of those things are working, these 4 key pillars right here, then you build yourself an amazing cold email system. Scale that, increase the volume, test new segments, double down on what's converting, obviously with different structures. That's basically it on how to diagnose your cold email campaigns. And obviously, this is something that you're going to run into eventually if you run cold email campaigns for yourself or for your clients. So if anything, apply what you learned in this video. My biggest recommendation. Don't sit on this. Take all of this and apply it. And if you need any help with that, just DM me. I'm going to leave my Instagram down below. We can work together. I can help you out. We've helped dozens of agency owners with getting their cold email system actually started using AI. And yeah, I hope you guys got value from this video. God bless, and take it easy. Peace.